Miquella is a twink femboy that looks like one of the protagonists out of those stories where they look 12 but are in fact an 1,000-year-old vampire. Suffice to say, he's a bit dodgy and a bit strange, but there is so much more to Miquella that isn't necessarily talked about. People have gone into depths of whether he's good or bad, his motivations, but something that is heavily overlooked is that Miquella stalks you. Hopefully by the end of the video you'll be able to understand why I believe this is the case. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe right now as I think that's a bit silly, so let's play a game. If at the end of the video you have enjoyed, consider leaving a like and subscribe. If you didn't, drop a dislike and some constructive criticism. Without any dilly-daddling, sit back, relax, grab some succulent prawns if you want, and enjoy. The Chapel of Anticipation is the first location that you visit inside of Elden Ring. It has many mysteries, connecting it to the Storm King, the Glow-Eyed Queen, and to Miquella. At the end of the road where you complete the bit for the Chapel of Anticipation, you'll notice a butterfly. It is unobtainable, but you can see from the texturing that it is the nascent butterfly. If you didn't know, all the butterflies inside of Elden Ring are representative of children of Radagon and Marika. Melina's butterfly is the Ionia butterfly. It's said to come from the wings of her scarlet blossom and is located everywhere that she is. The black firefly butterfly is Mesmer's. It talks about how it comes about in places that have been scored by Mesmer's flame. Wherever he is, they are. We learn in the DLC that Melina is in fact the little sister of Mesmer. This is further proven by the smouldering butterfly, which talks about being used as kindling. Melina is a kindling maiden. And finally, we have Miquella. Miquella's is the nascent butterfly. It talks about coming out of the cocoon for the first time in its life. This is heavily hinting at the cocoon Miquella is in at the Halig tree, and the fact he's breached the cocoon of childhood to reach godhood in the DLC. As you can see, the location of these butterflies is very important. Where these butterflies are where the demigods are centered around. I originally thought that the butterflies were simply where these demigods have touched. I think it's more likely now that in Miquella's case, they are instead spy tools, and they are put in certain locations on purpose to lead us down a path. So Gideon uses a similar method by using scarabs. He inscribes his symbol, and wherever they are, he can use them to learn techniques of bosses we fight. He spies on us. I believe this is similar to what Miquella is doing and more. A great example is the aforementioned Chapel of Anticipation. There is a nascent butterfly we cannot obtain on a ledge. And where do we end up once we fall off this ledge? Right into the hands of Melina. There are slight hints throughout Melina's questline that she is not moving and doing things of her own volition. When you take her to the base of the Erd Tree, she says she can now govern her own movements. Melina also wields Torrent. Torrent is a mount that was once used by Miquella. We can see this in the original teaser for Shadow of the Erd Tree. The coincidence that something of Miquella's just so happens to lead us directly into the path of Melina, not to mention the fact that we used to have a maiden before they were killed very strangely, is in my opinion no coincidence. Melina helps you before reaching the base of the Erd Tree, but it's only once she can quote unquote govern her own movements that she tells you that you can become Elden Lord. Before that, she doesn't. By that point in the game, you could have defeated multiple demigods, obtained multiple great runes. By the time you're in Lindale, you are well on your way to becoming Elden Lord, and yet she says nothing about you becoming Elden Lord. This is not the last we're going to be talking about Melina, and she's definitely important to this, but I want to go back to the first step. When you first grace the first step, you'll notice someone standing to the left. Varré. Varré is a servant of the Lord of Blood, Mohg. As we learn inside the DLC, and as I've been saying since base game, Mohg is being controlled by Miquella. The Miquellester mime-raped Mohg and turned him into a simp. Considering the DLC, Ansbach is a truly honourable man and treats you with respect even when he learns about you killing his master. It does lend credence to the idea that before Miquellester did his thing, Mohg was an honourable man. Why would someone like Ansbach follow him if he too wasn't an honourable man? This means the abduction of the war surgeons must have came after Mohg got bewitched, meaning that whatever Varré is ordered to do, aka stand outside first step, that is ordered by Miquella, for at this point in the story, Mohg is well under the control of Miquella, meaning that Varré is there because Miquella wants us to meet him. Varré is a bit of a dick to us, but he straight away helps us. He tells us the grace of gold is guiding us from these grace points. Everything he does and everywhere he leads us towards Miquella. Hell, the last encounter with Varré is right outside of Mohg's boss arena, Mohg being the person that is integral and needed to actually start the DLC and start the chain of events which leads to us meeting Miquella. Varré also gives us a medallion which can be used to get to the Mohgwyn dynasty, which is where Mohg is. It's incredibly hard and very vague on how to get there without it, meaning that Miquella wanted us to find Mohg. Which plays into everything very nicely because that also means that Miquella can use Mohg's body to create a new version of Radahn. The nascent butterfly isn't the only item that Miquella uses to spy on us. There is also Miquella's lily. Miquella's lily is forged out of unalloyed gold and is located at all the important junctures inside of Elden Ring. Considering what we've talked about regarding the nascent butterflies, I think it's very likely a similar thing is going on with Miquella's lilies. I mean, why would you fuse unalloyed gold with a lily unless there was some need for it? Everything we know about Miquella seems to make him out as quite pragmatic. Him just doing something for shits and giggles doesn't sound very Miquella. We've talked about most of the specifics on why I believe Miquella is stalking you. But why? Why would the Miquellester go through so much trouble to manipulate us? The answer to this question is answered to us by none other than Miquella himself. In the final boss fight against Promised Consort, in the starting cutscene, he says, "Lead the path forward to us. To I, Miquella, and my promised consort, Radahn." Miquella is using you, the player, to gather up great runes, to defeat the other demigods. He's using you so there is no competition. And it absolutely works. There are two requirements to get inside of the Shadow of the Erdtree. 1. Kill Radahn, and 2. Kill Mohg. Radahn's a sort of earlier game, mid-game boss, but Mohg, he's endgame. By the time you get round to beating Mohg, most of the shard bearers are long dead, leaving no competition for Miquella. I also don't think the fact you need to kill 2 bosses is a coincidence. I very much understand that Radahn's body is needed to be killed so Miquella can revive him, and then they need Mohg to serve as the conduit for that revival. But you need 2 great runes to enter into the capital, which Miquella would need if he wanted to usurp the throne from Morgoth. Mohg calls us an honoured guest while he's being bewitched. He says this is the birthplace of our dynasty, and I don't think he's talking about him. I believe the birthplace is us, that we are the catalyst for this new dynasty. The Mohgwyn dynasty, which is where Mohg is situated, is old. There are bits that are decaying and falling apart. It's been there for ages. This new dynasty he's talking about is not Mohgwyn, it's its own thing. To be more specific, it's most likely Miquella's and Radahn's dynasty. Although of course, Radahn doesn't have a say at all in being a part of it. To put it simply, we're basically Postman Pat of Elden Ring. We go and kill demigods, go and kill gods, and we're just going to deliver the great runes to Miquella. Or at least that's what he wants. He wants us to curl over and allow the path to be yielded to him and Radahn. As we are the protagonist of this game, it doesn't go as planned, and we end up slaying the promised consort and the aspiring god. But there is a slight situation where we can see what might have happened. We never get any proper cutscene after it, but there is an instance in the boss fight where Miquella can actually win. Where Miquella can succeed in the thing he's been doing since we arrived in the lands between. Our heart is stolen. we become one of Miquella's loyal hounds that have no free will. And it's really interesting to think just what happens after this moment. The most likely answer being that Miquella becomes the god, that he fully ascends into godhood with Radahn at his side, and they take the throne. I think, personally, this theory is really plausible. But whenever I see someone talking about Miquella, or even myself, there is always discussion that Miquella is eternally a child, that his body cannot mature, and so his mind must not mature either. I understand why people think this, but I've got to disagree. There is so many layers to Miquella's plans, the things that he has done, the things he plans to do, that I find it very unrealistic to think that he has the mind of a child. Now don't get me wrong, there are instances where it does seem like he has a bit of a mind of a child, and perhaps bits and pieces of that still linger, for example Castle Sol. But I think for the most part, he has the mind of an adult, just simply the body of a child. I know I made a joke at the start of the video that Miquella is like a protagonist who looks 12 but is actually a 1,000-year-old vampire, but it's kind of true. That kind of is what Miquella is. He looks like a child, but has the mind of a millennia-old being. He has been alive for a very long time, and it very much looks like he's learned from those years. Sadly everyone, that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel and lets me know you're enjoying this style of content. I'm not going to do Dudley anymore. Please friends, don't you dare go hollow. And may you find your worth in the waking world. See you in the next one, and goodbye.